What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Mr. No Show,
And I'm 72 the architect.
Sniper shots.
and we are blank canvas in the morning on your Saturday journey. But before we go any further, I believe my good buddy here, 72, has some great inspiration for your day.
All right, everybody. How y'all doing? Let's get into the Daily Stoic. All right, today is titled from page 125 of the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. Says the mind is all yours. You have been formed by three parts: body, breath, and mind. Of these, the first two are yours insofar as they're only in your care. The third alone is truly yours. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations 12.3. Now, Ryan and Stephen go on to explain and say the body can be ravaged by disease or injured or disabled at a sudden accident. It can be imprisoned or subjected to torture. The breath can suddenly cease because of time has come or because someone has taken it from us. Breathing can labored, grow labored because of exertion or illness as well. But up until the very end, mind is ours. It is not the other two parts of life that Marcus mentions, our body and our breath, don't matter. They're just less ours than our mind. You wouldn't spend much time fixing up a house that you can rent, would you? Our mind is ours, free and clear. Let's make sure we treat it right. So the question of the day is, how am I caring for my mind? And I think that's perfectly appropriate for today in the Daily Stoic, if you don't mind me saying, guys. We're going to talk about narcissism, what it is. Is it a social construct? Is it a personality disorder? What do you think about it?
There's a lot we can say about it, but my question is, what does narcissism mean as a breakdown? Because when people hear the word, they have an interpretation of it automatically. Now we have to figure out what it really means because it could be pulled, pushed many ways of a discussion. Is there a way we can pull that up right quick?
On narcissism, give me
Yes,
just
sir.
okay. So narcissism defined. Let me pull it up. Let's see, I had it for some reason.
I mean, there's plenty of symptoms and quick overviews of it, but
Okay, so it is defined according to Google. Um, Excessive interest in or admiration of oneself, one's physical appearance, similar to vanity, self love, self admiration, self adulation, self absorption. Psychology, selfishness involves a sense of entitlement, a lack of empathy, and a need of admiration as characterized as a personality type. Psychoanalysis will say of narcissism that self-centeredness arising from a failure to distinguish the self from external objects, either in very young babies or as featured as a mental disorder.
wait, so that's classified as a mental disorder. I
Yes,
heard that right.
you did.
Yeah, you did.
So for a baby who's wanting the need and an attention of an external fulfillment, whether it be mom, pops, uncle, cousins, that is a narcissist.
According to Google. That's what Google's saying.
Maybe we should try another search engine.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that that could be the case, man. It's
Yeah. it's it's very, very now. If you look at, let's see, I'm going to share a screen with from the Mayo Clinic, narcissistic personality disorder. So let me bring this up real quick here. So there you go. Um, okay, so narcissism personality disorder. The overview, and this is the MayoClinic.org under the disease and conditions. It says narcissistic personality disorder is one of several types of personality disorders, is in the mental condition in which people have inflated a sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and for admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. But behind the mask, extreme confidence lies in a fragile self esteem that's vulnerable to the slightest criticism. Narcissistic personality disorders cause problems in many areas of life, such as relationships, work, school, financial affairs. People with narcissistic personality disorder may generally be unhappy and disappointed when they're not given the special favors or admiration they believe they deserve. They may find their relationships unfulfilling and others may not enjoy being around them. So that's according to the Mayo Clinic. And that's just, that's really just even, that's the brief overview of it. But symptoms, let's just go over a few. Have an exaggerated sense of self importance, have a sense of entitlement, or require constant excessive admiration. It expects to be recognized as a superior even without achievements that warrant it, exaggerated achievements and talents. Be preoccupied with the fantasies about success, powered power, brilliance, and beauty, of the perfect mate. Believe that they are superior and can only associate with equally special people. Those are just some of the symptoms, guys.
Right.
Right.
We want to
So go
go
ahead,
ahead
sir.
and acknowledge Claudia. She said that this mental illness as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the whole thing that I'm getting is I get the understanding of a sense of entitlement, right?
Hmm.
A need for admiration. Then you have excessive interest in oneself. Then when we go back to the Stoic that we read this morning, right before we got into the show, it's a lot about our mind. Is more powerful than the focus of our body,
Hmm.
and that alone is the precursor for I feel narcissism can come from. So let's take, for instance, a need for admiration. Just break it down. Do you not see that people need a form of admiration, or maybe to feel, respected, appreciated, valued to some extent? And if that's the case, wouldn't that classify a form of narcissism?
It could. It could. I mean, who's interpreting it? Who's diagnosing it? Who are these people? I mean, we see just even yesterday, I've seen people that metaphorically life coaches, no disrespect to them, but are taking on this mental personality disorder and telling people, like giving them strategies of how to deal either with the actual condition or say like somebody's in a relationship with one of them. You could have a narcissist within a relationship. And in that conversation, when I asked somebody, it was literally projected. One of them stated, "Hey, it can't be cured." And I asked the question, so it, if you're not a psychologist or a psychotherapist or a clinical psychologist, how can you really make that claim? And I literally watched them backtrack out of the conversation. And then they were one of the key speakers. And so it's like, that also poses a problem, the social construct of how people identify and cast the word out to somebody. Oh, you're being narcissistic. You know what I mean? Like, how often do you hear that?
I
I
think you
mean,
hear it a lot nowadays, especially with social media. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? I think it's getting mixed up with confidence
True.
versus, you know what I'm saying? Just like Mr. No Show's stories that he had about the show today. And in his story it says you're narcissistic on your Instagram, all you have is pictures of you. And I went through my Instagram and all I have is pictures of me. I was like, "Oh, okay. I see where we're going with this." But no, I think it's like I said, with social media being out here today, everybody's getting mixed up being narcissistic versus having confidence, you know what I'm saying? To promote yourself or just show your life in general, you know.
music is key, right? One of the biggest songs that the women used to listen to, by Boosie. INNDPENT.
Oh my
That's
good. Yeah. And none of them had what he was saying.
yeah, but
Maybe 2%.
and then all the single ladies, all the single, you know what I'm saying? So it's like
And Beyonce's married.
they're creating this image where it's okay to think about yourself, be yourself, and what we do on blank canvas is not to think about just yourself, but think about how your interactions with the world can make it a better place and paint a better picture. So when we think about things in that regard for the betterment of society, we have to go up against music, movies, television, TV shows, news articles, social media, and we're having this barrier that we're trying to push through with all this positive reinforcement. But when you start thinking about all the ways people are getting their evolutional training, it's like Beyonce won. Like, you know what
No
I'm saying?
doubt.
Like MTV won. Like, yeah, Will Smith got up there and did his thing. Was that for him or was that for his for his woman? But then again, was that for Chris Rock? Because Chris Rock made some money. So now we're looking at individuality, like you said, cyber shots, confidence, and then on top of that, what Jason was saying is that people tend to have a sense of entitlement.
Right.
Yo, we're stuck.
Like any one of those traits could easily identify any of us at any given time. You're sometimes being even a guy. We even talked about, are men more narcissistic than women or women more narcissistic than men? I'm not in that place of diagnosing anybody. I'm just a regular guy. I work with my own hangups, my own difficulties, but that doesn't mean that I have a personality disorder. That doesn't mean that I'm, regardless, I'm not here to tell anyone, oh, you're not. I don't think I may have, but I don't think to my memory, I've ever called someone a narcissist. And if I did, it's because it's just so I came to that final conclusion after just long evaluation from what I understand of the term. So, but I'm not here to offer treatment. I'm not here to offer advice. That's the thing. We have to be very careful exactly about these things and what they mean. So we've defined it, you know, we know elements of narcissism, but is it really getting the careful eye or is it carefully exaggerated to cover many other things to where people are not connecting anymore? Is it dividing us?
Isn't it bad to be considered a narcissist?
Yeah, it probably could be. It really probably could be. There's no limit to it. But one thing I will say is that if we keep playing, you know, like Claudia says, words are powerful, labels are powerful. If we are not careful of the labels we pass around, then what are we doing?
Shifting the blame.
That could be a strong thing right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That says a lot about a lot of people.
You know, I find it very encouraging to see that what you said, personality traits
Hmm.
can lead into a form of narcissistic tendencies. When we have an urge to be alone, we work so hard, we deal with the complications of stress that just implode at the wrong time. You could be in traffic and you just
Oh
want to
yeah.
run somebody over, right?
No doubt.
I was in there. Like, have you ever tried in a car, like to try to stay in traffic and then there's another car just automatically just keeps cutting you off? Like, dude, we're not going anywhere. Why do you keep inching? Like, chill out. It's not all about you. There's 50 other people in this one line at this red light. So what you're doing, I'll let you through. Don't worry. Just be patient. Then I think to myself, it's like, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the issue. Maybe I should be thinking about just letting him slide and shut the hell up. Nah, no. It's too
And
much
how
of a
far
mind
how far
game.
does that go? I mean, like how so where's the point where you draw the line? I am standing up for myself or my family in a healthy way versus I'm just in my feelings. You know,
Mm.
a lot of people pass the blame or pass the buck so to speak, constantly. Cyber, when you're doing your job, have you, and you are handling someone's trash can, or maybe you're handling some materials for recycling, whatever. Have you ever come across people say, "Oh, you're just being rude. Your truck is being too loud. You're a narcissist," or someone passing it.
I mean, they haven't
It's happened on
necessarily
my
called me
platform. Me,
a
yeah, go.
narcissist, you know what I'm saying? But here's the deal right here, right? Like when I'm driving my truck, I take a 15-minute break, right? When I
Mhm.
get to a certain point, and boom, park right in the cut in the cul-de-sac, not near anyone's house. So this guy comes out in his pajamas, a little bit too old to be wearing SpongeBob, but that's none of my business. So he comes out there, right? Hey, can you turn your truck off? I'm trying to sleep. I work second shift. I'm like, what does that have to do with me? I'm taking my 15-minute break. Shouldn't you be
Not a
sleeping?
not a goddamn
You know what
thing.
I'm saying? It's not like I come by your house once a week, same time. I get it, the truck is loud, but I'm nowhere near your house. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's like, and
Yeah,
plus,
so you're
you know,
interrupting his world.
yeah. I mean,
You're messing with the sleep, man.
now if we would have missed this stop, it would have been a whole different story. Or he didn't come by and get my stop. It's
Mm.
because you were sleeping.
Well, here's another term. Check this out. Here's another term that has been passed around for years. Like you've heard the term going postal, right?
Mm.
And then
Hmm.
those people that do those heinous acts of violence are considered narcissists. But what drove them to that point? Was it really a personality disorder, or is it extenuating circumstance that that arose and just someone popped? They blew, you know, there's so many things with mental health, and the problem with mental health is there's not one size fits all answers. It's a customized and personal thing. So we have to understand, with a personality disorder, you could have it. Like, look, if I say I have Asperger's, what does that mean to most people? They're like, "Yo, you're speaking some Chinese to me." No offense, Chinese people. But if you say that and they're saying, "Look, I have a different sensitivity level towards certain things and situations. Either I can be extremely emotional or completely logical and lack of empathy." Does that mean that I'm narcissistic? It strongly could, or it couldn't. I'm not the psychologist. I do seek therapy for my personality stuff. I do how to process better things, but that doesn't make me a bad person. And where these discussions in groups, um and I'm not trying to slam any life coach or anything, but it's like what they're doing within the industry itself is like you're giving a strategy for someone how to function out of pain, which that's what a therapist does. And then the difference is the level of education and clinical hours to getting a license to be therapy versus, you know what, I've experienced trauma, I've in my professional experience, I've dealt with a certain field, and I can help guide you through. But that the difference is, therapists can say I have a patient, life coach will say I have a client. So there it is. And how does that play out? You know what I'm saying? So
Well, that's a power struggle right there.
I
Let's
think
let's
it is
take into
too.
account. We have personality. Jay, Cyber, everybody that comes in here, we all have personality. Whether it be conflicting to a individual you never met in your life, I mean, does it matter? That person could be thinking like, "Who the hell are you?" Versus that person who's meeting you for the first time is like, "Man, this is an asshole. This person is such a jerk, a bitc." You know what I'm saying? And then later on, they're gonna label you, "Babe, I met this narcissistic in the line today going to the grocery store. Couldn't believe the arrogance from this gentleman." And the labels just start pouring out like water in a cup. Just now, when I think about it, how many times have I been in a situation where I have to face personal opinions or standing up for myself, and annoyance of others over personal gain becomes more of a viewpoint for me. So now that I think about it, can I even stand up, think for myself, carry weight on what my morals are without being labeled a narcissist? And if I do get labeled a narcissist, is that a bad thing? Like, are you telling me like my shit smells like roses, but then again it looks like shit? You know what I'm saying? Like what is it? Make up your
Wow.
mind. Shit.
How far is it going to go? That's really the issue. How far? And you know what? I shout out to anyone in mental health that work with personality disorders. That is a lot of things to work with. Shout out to all those professionals, whether it be in a mental health hospital, a psychiatrist or psychologist's office, to the assistants. These people, there's so much social identity crisis is constantly going around. They're taking things way too personal or too lightly. And the operations within, like it said, in relationships, maybe your workplace, you come across a boss who's egocentric, right?
Hmm.
And you're like, yo, you're a narcissist, man, as a boss. Like, and you can't tell your employer that. You can't tell your manager because why?
Bull
There's
crap.
retribution.
I've done it.
Oh, you
I've done it.
can.
Yeah, see, Cyber?
You
Yeah.
can, but there might be
Now,
consequences for it.
consequences to your decisions. You know what I'm
But
saying?
that's the
Now,
problem.
now by you responding to that, are you being narcissistic?
You're in your feelings,
Mm,
Cyber. You're in your
mm,
feelings.
yeah, yeah. You can't have that here. No feelings.
Nope.
No, my apologies.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Not today.
I'm getting interrogated up here. What the hell?
But you know that's important. That's important because when we think about things, we have to really evaluate just that. I've done spoken to my manager tons of times when I came to my old job a couple years ago, and I realized that this new manager that this company hired only wanted to hire women. Why? Because he had a men, inferiority complex. Maybe he was more second guessing to the man's command. I don't know. But the way he spoke to the woman at the job was almost belittling. And when you think about that,
In the meantime, he's
in that process, it's a whole buildup in where we find ourselves discussing who we are. And when I met this manager, I didn't like him from the get. And I told him, I was like, man, I don't care how long you've been here. I've been here longer than you and I've done more than you. And I know the best way to go about doing this. But if you feel as if that I'm a threat to you, then you might want to take it up with your higher management. And he was like, all right, let's go. Come on. So he pulled me into the office with the two dudes that hired me to the company. And he's like, I can't believe you talked to me like this. I had higher expectations of you. This, I was like, wait a minute, higher expectations. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you want me to be just a yes man, a yes boy, a puppy with a leash. Nah, I've been off my leash. So the whole thing is when I met that personality, everybody in that warehouse was already saying what I was thinking. There was no question about it. And the weirdest thing was he would never be on site. For some reason, he had illness, a sickness that would just not allow him to be in the company. So when I would be there, it'd be like 4 months, go out of town for about 3 weeks, come back. He was there for the whole time, and then he still had a job. So it's like, how does one get a job, feeble minded, and more insecure about another male dominant or another alpha coming into the picture? How insecure must he be? Then I realized he might have been a narcissist. It's only him. Doesn't care what you, him, her, or them have to say. If it's his way, it's got to be his way. No one else's. So when I looked into standing up for myself, how would I be able to keep a job? How would I be able to pay my bills? How will I be able to, you know, keep the lights on, keep a cell phone, do my shows?
well, let's take it one step further. Yesterday, when we were talking in casual conversation, we asked the question, are women more narcissistic than men? Or we were just asking the question, on gender roles. And I think Curtis was, or Cyber and Nosha were literally saying, like, could the other side be? And we don't know it. It could be within our family, our friends, it could be anywhere, but it's just like, by what means do we have? And I literally heard in conversations, men tend to be. allegedly. But when we looked at the articles, and when you were Curtis, you were talking to us yesterday, we're talking over the phone, you came up with there were published opinion letters or postings about that there are a significant amount of narcissistic women. And so we're not trying to pin the genders between each other or the orientations against each other, but it's like, because it's passed around so easily, um, it's a social construct that people are having coming to terms with and saying, well, enough is enough. I have a reason why you are this way, and you no longer can hurt me because I know what you are, you know. And those personality disorders, it's a very thin line.
Mm. I
It's a
want the
thin line.
smoke. I want the smoke. Women,
Oh,
you might be more narcissistic than men. Just saying. Men, you might be just enough under your woman. So, ladies, let me say this. Let me say this. I'm bringing the smoke. All right. So, there was an article that I read yesterday that basically said that men today are more narcissistic than women. But years around 2014, 2013, it was stating that women were more narcissistic than men. Now, the only reason why I bring up these two different timelines is simply because where have we been in the last 6 to 7 years? The change, the shift, the energy shift, women becoming way more influential in influencing, social influencing, digital marketing, anything of that nature, CEO, business. Women have risen. Men still at that plateau, but women are just shooting up. So when I say that men today are just a little bit more than they were, is because time has changed. And when you look at the society in itself, how have men been acting, right? Like women even more so. How many times have anyone seen a woman walk up to a man and get their number? I've seen that shit most recently a few months ago. I done seen multiple women stare down dudes like they was dudes. You know what I'm saying? Now it's becoming a whole personality instinct where women are now growing more confident in who they are and what they stand for and what they want. They'll go for it. Men, maybe not so much, man. I done seen a lot of dudes just relax. They want to become rappers and they want to be musicians who just don't go do shows. But long story short, the times are changing and the women are becoming more prevalent in society. And with those two outputs, just imagine what's going on internally. Women are dealing with more. They got to put out more. They got to handle more. They got to take on more tasks. Now they're going to be pushed to a whole new standard. Equal rights. That's what we at. So now we're going to start
So
seeing a
is there an
narcissistic between all.
identity influx of, like, how many times have you heard in casual conversation where men are not stepping up? Women are doing all the work, allegedly. Like, the even just the family dynamics now has drastically changed. There are more men actually being hands-on with their kids, where traditionally the man worked and the woman took care of the kids. Both had their important positions, not jobs, positions. And so when we look at those positions, and women have had to adopt to survive and thrive, now they look at men as, why do I need you? I don't need you. Those are their words, allegedly. And I'm not saying all, but I'm saying many. When you say these things, it creates an identity, influx. And so we have these conditions like narcissism, and we'll say, well, because you didn't step up. Well, and then the question could be pointed back, well, why didn't you take more time to evaluate your partner? Why didn't you take a careful consideration before you blame someone else? Did you look at what you knew or you didn't know and take patience with the evaluation of that partnership that produced a child? As an example, not a lot of, and that's how, where the not some narcissistic mothers were born and raised right there, is because if the dad wasn't there, how fair is that? And then they grow bitter and angry, and they'll say things, men are trash, don't be like that, don't do this. You know what I'm saying? It may be funny, but in reality, that happens constantly.
Yeah, I'm amused.
You know,
Yeah,
I
I'm
blame a
really
lot of this
amused.
on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's
Like,
before even the internet, really.
okay, check this out. Check this out. Now, as far as the word narcissistic comes, right? Within the last 6 years, I have never heard that word so much. You know what I'm saying? Within the until I started listening to podcasts, live streaming, or whatever, it started popping up everywhere. And you were saying that the role is switching, right, between men and women. Like you said, stay home dads nurturing to the kids, right? But check this out. They had the opportunity with the internet to provide for their family and still work from home. Like Curtis said, No Show said, the energy shift, you know what I'm saying? So if you're able to work at home and still nurture to your kids, you know what I'm saying, and provide for your family, it's not, all that physical labor going out, the hustle and bustle. You're there. You know what I'm saying? Then once again, you have more time to spend on the internet going through stuff. And once again, that narcissistic word comes up over and over again.
And now it's being put on children.
Right.
It is. I was sitting next to my girl last night, and I was literally watching programs. No, in the last couple of days, we were watching programs about attachment and healthy minds of children, and now it's being peddled to kids. Young children being narcissistic. They're still in those formulating years of how can you put a personality disorder on a child, and no one wants to look at the blame. Like, okay, what are the parents performing to create those conditions for a personality disorder to exist and arise? So, are we really looking at what is really at play?
Yo, so check this out, right? What I'm sharing right now is just what I was reading with the guys yesterday. It's crazy. I'm gonna read it. So for those who are watching, yeah, I appreciate you. For those who are listening, pay attention. Are women more narcissistic than men? Contrary to what most people believe, women are far more narcissistic. However, the traits that are considered narcissistic for men are considered normalized for women. Firstly, censorship does not exist. I'm sorry, censorship does exist. Publishers with feminist ideals produce articles and literature at a much faster rate than other demographics. Also, there are no grounds to justify research suggesting men are narcissistic as sexist and misogynistic, whereas suggesting women are narcissistic can be viewed as sexistic and misogynistic. It's therefore far more unlikely or far more likely that publications regarding a justification of widespread female narcissism are censored. If you look to the research, you may find that many other studies not observe men and women equally. For example, taking frequent selfies is considered narcissistic in men. However, it doesn't contribute to female narcissism because it's normalized. Having multiple sexual partners is another factor that implies male narcissism. However, doesn't for women because it's normalized. Spending too much time in front of the mirror is considered narcissistic for men, but not for women because it's normalized. Buying too many clothes is narcissistic for men, but normalized for women. Men who show their skin are narcissistic, but that's normalized in women. These are the double standards that research into narcissism by gender deliberately strengthen the impression that males are more narcissistic than females. There are many more double standards like this, so much so that there exists a complete asymmetry to the factors used for predicting male narcissism as compared to female narcissism. These studies judge men by standards they ugh, subsequently absolve women from. I don't want to read it anymore because it's very lengthy, but I can put the actual link into our show. That is one of the major and most powerful reads that I've had because when you think about excessive interest in oneself, a need for affirmation, a sense of entitlement, is confidence a form of narcissistic tendencies. Then you look at the traits. If someone goes through a road rage situation, somebody's standing up for themselves, annoyance over others, over personal gain, how far is it going to go? Type question. You think about these, and when you develop just answers from that world, it's like, wait a minute. I'm normalizing some of the things I do. Women are normalizing some of the things they do. So where is the narcissistic tendencies?
That's really hard to really even. It blows me away. It honestly blows me away. It's like for me, speaking as a man, it puts me like, yo, don't show too much. Be careful who I talk to. Don't talk to them because I could be labeled this. I can't hang around such and such group because of the labeling that's passed socially. So is narcissism as a social label really dividing people and not giving light to the condition itself to where people can learn and develop healthier mental habits?
Mm.
That I think that's a careful question that has to be asked. So,
Social labels.
yeah,
I dig that.
are you trying to escape? Are you using narcissism as an scapegoat? You know, you're labeling that person as using an excuse to like they're just not getting along with you?
So let's say that 72, you prefer to work on your car over the weekend. You just want to tune it up, fix it right, get it oil change ready for the week, starting next Monday. And your wife says, "Hey, let's just put that to the side." Now, somebody can be like, "Hey, we should do this first before we go anywhere else because this is what's going to keep the money coming in. So I can't do anything else." You're thinking not only for yourself but for the family. Now, some cyber shots. Let's say, for instance, you decide to go into work,
Mm-hmm.
get extra overtime, but your lady's like, "Yo, we don't need the overtime. Don't kill your body like that." But you want to do it because there's things that you want to get, like some new podcasting equipment. Now, you could be viewed as selfish, while Jay might be viewed as somebody who's selfish. You see what I'm saying? Like the social
Yeah.
labels could be pinned on both of us or both of y'all in regards to how one may interpret selfishness, which is kind of crazy.
It could be an ugly social construct that people have no limitation on, and the damage that they could cause by using those labels as social constructs could be led into their children's lives. Do you people not realize the damage you cause? I mean, look, I'm not perfect. I've said some things, I'm sure, that could have scarred my kids. Maybe has, I don't know. But that's the thing about being a parent, being a dad, you're learning from your bad choices and good choices and trying to help them become an adult who can decide exactly who they can be and for their best ability in their mental health. That's really in my opinion, um one of the things that we got to really understand is it's like I don't want to go label anything. I don't want to. It's not my interest to, you know.
Mm.
But when I'm put in a corner, like someone, like here's another term, 5150. When someone's crazy, that person's fit. Where does that come from?
Mm.
Or egocentric, um, materialist, misogynist. These are all crafted terms either by the government
Wow.
or the psychological community today. And if people are adopting, oh, I took psychology back in college. I'm well acquainted. I'm qualified.
What else did you do in college? You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
Smoke weed,
I
cocaine, all
cannot
that.
confirm or
Yeah,
deny that
yeah,
I
that part.
smoked it and inhaled it or I drank something. I cannot confirm that.
You can't confirm or deny. I got you. I see where it's going.
Yeah, you know, but these
Oh snap.
labels, but see these labels and these terms are passed and just it's someone's in a usually angry when they call you
Mm-hmm.
these things. This isn't called from a calm space and like, a what I mean, I've got to give a lot of respect to women and all mothers who are single mothers, especially my mom, who really made impacts, but they could have had narcissistic traits in the programming and training. We can't ignore that. We can't.
So you think that that could actually fall off onto the kids more
Oh
so
yeah,
then because
absolutely. More
Yeah,
kids are
they're in
being
that world.
diagnosed with sociological conditioning or personality influx and disorders than ever.
I believe it. I believe it.
Like,
Just pass
I
down.
have a friend, my friend Kushbu, who works with neurodiversity, and these
Hmm.
kids to adults are having to be trained how to be train themselves to be with working with their personality disorder or their social construct with their neurodiversity into how can I get a job? How can I connect with another person without being seen as excuse my language, it's not adequate, but a retard. That's actually it's considered outdated and barbaric, right? So how do you that just even that word retard, that's outdated and people will say you're so mean, but people used to use that in the 80s and 90s all the time. Remember in school, I remember in school
Oh
hearing on the
God.
playground, "Oh, you're retarded. You're so
Yeah.
retarded." And you're like, "Well, wait a minute. What does that mean? What does retarded mean?" Can you imagine that as a kindergarten I asked that. What does a
Yeah.
retarded mean? But I was also called on school playground, "You're a wetback." What the hell's a wetback?
Oh shit.
It
Yeah.
becomes
I
it
mean,
escalates into racial, mental, even physical, differences. You know, some kids are built
wow.
stronger than others, some are not, can handle more mental, but it doesn't mean that they're any better or worse. It's these labels that we pass around, and then we're like, "Oh, yeah, Curtis,
But
he's
we're
got
taught to
problems."
brand people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're literally evolving in that atmosphere of, yo, this person, you're gonna love them. They're comedic. They're comedic. Or this person that you get to meet, oh, straight asshole, right? Just but he's or she is a lovable person. You'll like them. You know, we brand a lot of different people and we use those brands to illustrate the commonality for people to grasp a hold of. So when I meet somebody like, hey, this person right here is a genius with the music. I'm not talking about Kanye. I'm just saying this person is a genius with the music. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, what makes a person a genius? Isn't that part
Doing
narcissism?
everything
Because you
that's
can look
not
at,
normal.
I mean, what is that's what I don't understand.
There's
Like
another one.
the
What
question
is
here, what
normal?
Awesome Sauce states is how do you get rid of narcissism? Right? That's one of the most powerful questions that I'm seeing because what happens when you start labeling and branding people as a narcissistic personality? You know, granted, we understand there are mental illnesses
Mhm.
that are associated with some of the people on this planet. You know, I get that, but we're not attacking those who actually have this problem. We're attacking those who label a multitude of the civilians in society as a narcissist over certain situations that doesn't or really play out in that world. So what do I have to do to get rid of the word
Or are
narcissism?
we really attacking, or are we bringing something to light that more people need to have careful discussions about the wordplay that they use casually
We're
or
bringing it to light.
privately, you know?
Yeah, we're bringing it to light, but people outside of the show may not know until they see the
Yeah,
show.
because
You know
you
what I'm
can be
saying?
considered, "Oh, you're creating a condition of hate," just by saying we're attacking. So just even just like our previous episode, code switching. Code switching, we literally talked about how the casual conversations to fit your performance or your identity so that you can pass through, or be accepted. So when we look at, just even that episode alone, and if you haven't watched it, go back and look in Blank Canvas. It's readily available for you. But look at what we talked about then, because now that we're bringing something up now where it's like, this is hurting people. This is causing real harm. There are people that are suffering from real other extenuating conditions that we're not even aware of. And how do you get help for those people? It could be your child, it could be your dad, it could be you, it could be your wife. How do you correct it? And just like when I was listening to those discussions, that I was a part of yesterday, and it was as a parenting room, and I'm not going to say the room in protection of that, but on Clubhouse. But the point is that people are taking the level to diagnose something that they have no qualification for, but they've been victims, so they know the experience of that style of personality disorder. So how do you treat the victim as well as the offender? You got to do both. Otherwise,
No.
people are going to prison. People are assaulting each other. They're causing their kids to grow up with handicaps. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the things where I don't think that fixing the problem or getting rid of it will ever happen. We're gonna just have to do what we're doing today and just talk about these things, because there's situations where you might find yourself labeling somebody with those traits. It could be a bad day for you personally. It could be a hardship that you might be going through. And then when we realize that time is really on our side, we have to slow down and think for a minute, like, what am I doing? And it's not necessarily about somebody else in this situation. It's about you, because you are a narcissist. Everybody in 2022 is a narcissist, right? From here on out, you're part narcissist. You have a little bit in you, because I think I have a part narcissistic trait in me myself. When I get into the studio and I'm on here editing, writing my poems, writing my scripts, I don't want to be bothered. Leave me alone. Get the hell away from me. I'm doing something right now. I love you, but you just got to get the hell out of here, right? And a lot of people can't take that part of me. And my woman, she tells me plenty of times that I'm an asshole. Like, I don't care about her feelings. Like, feelings have no bounds on some of the shit that you say to me.
So, what
I'm
are
gonna
the
tell
things
my
that you
friends
do
that. I'm gonna tell
control?
my homies that. I'm gonna tell anybody that has that point of view. If you have feelings that has a logical situation,
Mhm.
please don't bring it.
So, okay? So that's a very important point about feelings. Your feelings are for yourself. Your wife's feelings are for her. Her interpretation of her perspective of the events or the things that are in play or past, and where you carry it forward. Like, I call it pink slipping whenever your partner's really pissed at you and they bring up the
Mhm.
past and, like, you're being narcissistic. You're not being sensitive to
Mm.
my needs. Well, guess what? Here's my get out of jail free card. Guess what? I've got a personality disorder. Here you
It's like
go.
almost having a difference between being narcissistic and a psychopath. Thin line
Mm.
between the two.
Wow. Well, that's what I do, Claudia. You know what I'm saying? I do, but here's the thing, like, I've been this way for a long time. Like, it's not, it has nothing to do with me just getting old and being unbothered. It's just me in my art craft. Like, I love getting into my world, and when I get pulled out of it, I feel really annoyed. I don't like it. It gets to be an issue for me. This is where I say, like, I know part of me has a narcissistic trait, because if this is a label that people are saying, then of course I got it. Right? I'm accepting that I got that. And my wife knows right now, like, if she wants an honest, straight up to the point answer, she'll come to me and she'll get it. Like, babe, do I look fat in this dress? I mean,
Now,
you want
I'm
to
going to
lose some
point
weight?
something out.
We can go in the room right quick.
I'm going to point something out. Claudia said that's just getting old when you feel unbothered. Is it really,
Mm.
or is it a sense of maturity too? If you don't let as many things bother you emotionally, does that mean that you're really getting old, or you're just not letting things interrupt your mindset, your performance? That could be
Or
narcissistic just doing that.
you can't teach the old dog new
Woof woof.
tricks.
Um,
I mean, it can go back and forth. You know
right,
what I'm saying? And
right. I mean,
that's why it's not going to get rid of.
true.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I really think that, as we've got 10 more minutes. I think the legitimacy of narcissism, it needs to be put in a careful lens. We need to really take a lot more time and not be so easy to say, "Oh, you're a narcissist. Sorry, bastard, mean."
Facts.
Like,
Facts.
you're just being a man, or you're just being a
Mm.
mean woman. Like, yo, get over yourself.
It's the
Relax. You need to
emotional
relax.
ride. Yeah, relax. It's the emotional roller
What's that
coaster
friend?
that.
The phrase I hear my friend say, "Woosah, calm down,
Yeah, that's
woosah."
right. Grab the little buttons behind your earlobes and start rubbing them things, man.
Yeah, or,
Woosah.
hey, I mean, what are the careful things to help diffuse any toxic situation? How do people really treat themselves? One, meditation, take walks, you know, watch the arguments. people are triggered easily by so little. So if you know your partner or your kids, are you observing or perceiving? And if you're perceiving, you've already identified without allowing things to come in and say, well, maybe I'm not qualified to really help with that, but I want to find ways to treat, like,
Yeah.
all right, how are you taking care of your mental health? Those are real questions, let alone being with somebody that has these conditions,
Mm.
So
You know,
go ahead.
I was waiting for you to say
Man, listen,
that.
taking care of your mental health is very, very important. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are more
Yeah.
concerned about their job, waking up in the morning, going to make somebody else wealthy. You know what I'm saying? Rushing to go do this. You know what I'm saying? If you don't feel good sometime, man, take that day, relax. Because guess what? Once you're gone, you're going to be replaced just like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, look at what Claudia just said. I put on the screen, maybe wifey needs hobbies. Okay, so
She does. She does.
so
You know.
when we look at these constructs of like the hobbies to decompress your mental conditions that you operate, you could be in a high pressure, like for example, I know my friend, she's a nurse, she works in the ER, high intensity. And then how do they turn, like I know nurses that don't know how to turn off being a nurse and a trauma nurse at that versus a
Mm,
doctor or a policeman. These people or paramedics, these people are high intensity. And then how do you turn that off and being like mom, dad? Where do they begin? And so it's so easy to use a word like narcissist to pass it off, because if you don't give them time to decompress, the kids or you as a partner could suffer much more damage, and the relationship split up unnecessarily, and people walk away with traumas that they'll spend maybe 10, 20, 30 years or never fixing.
mm. I mean, some people walk away with whole ass houses. My dudes
Uh,
get left with that car. But I'm just saying, like, as
That's
far
a
as
fact.
traumatic situations, it's how I like the fact that you said people need to find something to decompress themselves from. In actuality, that is powerful, right? We have to find those things, whatever it may be. If it's building a model airplane, if it's painting a freaking, crocheting or, painting a wall, whatever. I agree with that full wholeheartedly. Even smoke some weed if that's you out there who wants to do that. Don't drink
You're not
alcohol unnecessarily.
advocating that you have to, but hey, if you need to do
I'm
what you
just
got to
saying.
do, boo boo, it's all good. We don't judge you.
Yeah. You can just don't smoke crack.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Don't hurt yourself.
Vitamin
Don't
is
go
very
out there hurting
powerful
other
with that.
people.
Yeah, never do that.
Wow,
Never do
where's
that.
this going?
Well, the
No, I
whole
got you. I got you.
decompressing factor, it's important that people find something that they can do, and Jay was on the money with that. I think it's key for a lot of us to really stop branding or using social labels on a whole bunch of people, whether you are in a bad mood or just an irritated mood, whatever it may be. Be you, be authentically you, just learn how to find the value within pulling yourself out of that element. Just get out of it. You know,
Well, look at the
if you got
look
stressed
at
on
the
an
people, the
app,
way that people are operating. We use Instagram, Facebook, we use Clubhouse, we use Snapchat, Twitter, Twitch. We use all these different platforms to
mm,
connect.
mm,
But while that connection, there's going to be someone or a group of people that are going to have a problem with you. This is also part of what we call cancel culture. Before it was even cancel culture, it was like these people were doing this already. So when we look at these things in the performance of how they're passed around, when you're say like if people say, well, Clubhouse is toxic. Well, yeah, it could be. The people you surround yourself with, your brother could be toxic and narcissistic and be, and counterproductive to you. Your father, your mother, it really doesn't matter. But are you prepared in your mental space to stop participating and saying, I've got it takes a lot of strength to excuse yourself even when you have the feelings to justify your actions. So
mm.
if we're looking at that as really a construct, I encourage people to take more evaluation of your performance before somebody else's.
Don't, don't.
No doubt.
So
They got to be willing to.
So we're coming up
They
to
got to be
5 minutes left. So let's bring in the closing thoughts. If anyone's in the audience want to post questions real quickly in the text in the YouTube screen, feel free to do so, or Twitch. If you have any questions that you want to ask us, feel free to do it now as we bring up the closing thoughts. Cyber, what are your closing thoughts about narcissism and even today's show?
One thing I would like to say is don't subscribe to that. You know what I'm saying? The main thing and the bottom line is to be yourself. At the end of the day, that's what's going to really matter. You can call somebody can call you a narcissist, or you can call someone else a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, at the end of the day, just continue to be yourself. Don't label yourself and don't subscribe to that.
What about you, Curtis? What are your closing thoughts?
Oh man, I don't ever have closing thoughts. I just have
Well, the thoughts for this
episodes
show,
after
bro.
episodes. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get done with this one, you can be listening to the next one.
Okay,
It's
you
gonna
know what
just
I'm
tie
saying?
into each other, like But the whole grip of today's show that I want people to hold on to is being able to acknowledge what you're doing to somebody else, regardless of identifying your wants and your desires. Because in a scheme of things, right, if a woman posts a half naked picture of herself
What?
and a guy does a half naked picture of himself, y'all shouldn't be calling one another narcissists, right? You just need to sit back, decompress from it all, and really value how good she looks naked. For ladies, how good he may look. Just enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? Stop being so stressed and involved into society, social media, social labels, whatever it may be. Find your detachment and live for the moment.
I agree. My closing thoughts are before you cast the label, think about it just for a brief moment. If it takes an extra 30 seconds before you spit out that word, think about your words land somewhere and they also come back at you. If you really can think about those words and really helping people not only understand, but connect. Some people need to meet you where you're at and you need to meet them. If you can take that action alone, we will have a significantly less social issues and mental issues and conditions can be treated adequately. That's really what it boils down to. We have to take ownership of our actions, accountability for our actions, our words, because the only things that you really own are really the words, the thoughts, and your choices. That's it. You don't get to own the consequences. You just get to own what you do, what you think, boo boo, and or what you say, and that's it. That's all you got. You don't get to control what people say. You don't get to control what people are. You're not a psychologist. And if you are, they, by license and duty in their profession, don't cast that label or diagnosis so easily. So those are my closing thoughts. Thank you to all the supporters in today's live stream. Claudia, definitely shout out to you. We also have Awesome Sauce.
Shoot,
And
I'm
who else
sorry.
we have that I met? Lulu, thank you so much for being a
Oh
loyal
yeah, Lulu.
viewer and subscriber. If you have friends that you can share this show with, please do that. Subscribe and like to Blank Canvas on Twitter, or Instagram. Any one of us we can do. Any of us have solo shows you want to do an announcement for, or we're just going to bring it to a close right here and right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to re-record sometime this next week of Control Factors. So if you saw it and it didn't come out so great, we're going to redo it. So be on the lookout. And then we're going to take a 2-week break. So we'll be gone essentially for 2 weeks, and then we'll come back with a brand new season. We go 8 weeks in, 8 weeks out, and that's it. So yeah, and enjoy your Saturday or enjoy your weekend, however you may be. Spend time with your family. Go do a hobby, whatever. Have fun.
Go do two. Go do three.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No doubt.
All right, all right. Have a great Saturday, Claudia. You take care. All right. Well, I'm 72 the Architect,
I'm No Show.
Cyber shots.
and we're Blank Canvas. We'll see you next time.